It's time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. Our host, JJ Winner, is on assignment this week, but the show must go on. We are Jameson Hutchison and Joseph Harlow, and this is the Rider Dynasty Podcast. We're thrilled to be back. Last week's mock rookie draft was a blast, even if Joel did rip Jameson's heart out a few times. But still want to thank him and Doug for joining us. Tonight, we do have one more piece of draft content before we get into the real offseason stuff. We are going to hit which picks we loved, which ones we did not love as much. Want some specifics? Let's get into it after this.
Don't do it near as well and as smooth as JJ, but we are going to try our best tonight. Just going to do some cheap plugs real quick before we get kicked off here with the landing spots. As always, all the podcasts here at Fantasy and Frames, go check those out over at fantasyandframes.com for the latest articles, rankings, IDP for all the degenerates out there. Make sure you go check all that stuff out. Videos, YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And before we kick off, real quick, if you are doing best ball drafts and want to do a little more, check out Fast Draft, the app. Brand new app doing more best ball. Got all sorts of stuff. If you are a first-time depositor, deposit with the promo code FRAMES and get $50 in credits. From the Origins game where they have rookies, just only rookies. You just draft a couple of them. Torrey Horton, Devin Neal. I mean, you pick your little friends and then, take them to the promised land. Their Flex 4 game where you pick your favorite players for the season. The D-Up for all those IDP degenerates, just like I talked about. So if you want to pick, TJ Watt, all those guys, pick those with the D-Up, and then all these 20-second timers, PPR format, 6-round best balls. So pretty quick and easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of your day. Like I said, promo code FRAMES will get you $50 deposit match for first-time users. So go check out Fast Draft. It's an awesome app. I've been able to use it a little bit, and I can vouch for it. So I guess we'll kick into it. So we're doing, obviously, landing spots for these rookies. We've had a lot of them that we've talked a lot about already, it seems like, in this early going of the season, the off-season. Some guys that we're going to hit on that haven't had as much love. So I'll kick it off. Just seems like the chalk here with Ashton Genty. Seems like we have talked about him ad nauseum, and it is May 22nd. Just kind of nuts, but just going to get into it. I don't think there's, as far as the best landing spots, which we'll kick off first, and then we'll get to the guys who are worse. I just don't think there is a better landing spot for one of these top-tier rookies as Ashton Genty, coming off a season of 1,970 yards after contact and 152 missed tackles forced, and averaging 5.25 yards per carry after contact per PFF. So he goes to the Raiders, who get the upgrade with Geno Smith. Both Joe, obviously you love, and I do as well, as a West Virginia man myself. And then the offensive line is good enough. They have Brock Bowers, they have Jacoby Myers, and then they bring in kind of the older gents. Bring in Pete Carroll, who got rid of Brian Schottenheimer because he was throwing the ball too much at one point. And then he brings along Chip Kelly, coming from Ohio State, who we've seen in the NFL do some really cool stuff. So these run games with Chip Kelly, he has never finished lower than 14th in rushing yards. His time in the Eagles, the time when he was offensive coordinator for the 49ers, just ends up, I want to compare him, the landing spot, to a guy like Bijan Robinson, who had Tyler Algier, Jahmyr Gibbs, who ended up Dave Montgomery. Like Ashton Genty really does not have any competition. He's got 33-year-old Raheem Mostert, Zamir White, Sincere McCormick. So I just think that landing spot for
slander here.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to, but I don't know if it's very uplifting. So do you have, I feel like I'm just playing the hits here, but do you have anything else to say about Ashton Genty here? I feel like, I know it's goofy saying this in May, but I just feel like everybody's in love with him. The price is really high to begin with, and obviously there's a ton to like here, but as far as landing spots, I think it's a great one. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel like our good pal Sean sums it up pretty well here. He's going to run for an ash ton of yards. I'll shake my head for your kids, Sean. But no, he's fantastic. It's a great landing spot. It's a weird offense, all the pieces, how they fit together, but I think it's going to be pretty dang good. So, yeah,
I
Nothing
think
really done.
just the real quick, I think for anybody, with the Ashton Genty part of it is they have Brock Bowers, who is obviously a playmaker. So they can't just stuff the box against Ashton Genty. You have to worry about that. Jacoby Myers, I think, is really underrated. And then with Geno Smith, last year, what he was able to do behind that offensive line, that was easily one of the worst in football. I mean,
Mhm.
I say it all the time. Some of these quarterbacks just get Goldberg speared constantly. But I mean, he was sitting there right in the middle of that offensive line, just would deteriorate every single week. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I would totally love the Raiders offense, but I mean, as far as Ashton Genty, his spot, his value, the competition, I just don't think it gets much better than that for landing spots here. Because I do think there was a couple landmines in the draft, and obviously avoided those going to the Raiders here.
Yeah. Great pick. My first favorite pick, and again, going in a little chronological order here, but I'm going with Emeka Egbuka, who we touched on a good amount last week in the mock draft. But it's a weird fit, and for redraft leagues, probably not someone who's super interesting for you. However, dynasty wise, I think it makes a ton of sense. He's going to be a very good player. He's in my top 30, 35 wide receivers right now. Again, he's going to be a perfect replacement for Chris Godwin if he ever misses some time, which feels more like a when than an if, especially off another massive injury. Mike Evans isn't going to be around forever and has been injured a lot. Ibuka can fit in that role as well. Or he could just be the third receiver for a while. And they've been chucking the ball all around the yard with Baker back there. He's an awesome blocker. It's going to help the run game. I think the pick, again, shock value was high, but it just made so much sense thinking about it some more. And if he was probably the best player on their board, so take the shot on him.
Yeah, the thing about Ibuka is just a lot of people see it as boring, I guess you can say. Because they just it's always the high floor, the low ceiling. I mean, these guys are awesome to target, and when everybody's shooting for the moon, it just ends up being a little goofy. But I think Emeka Buka has a couple outs to end up being like a. I mean, Chris Godwin's coming off his second leg injury in 3 years, so you have to worry about that. Mike Evans is, like you said, another year older. Jalen McMillan has been fine. I know he had the end of the year where he kind of went off, but I mean, outside of that, Cade Otton, he's had a couple games when all the rest of the wide receivers disappeared. But Emeka Buka, I think, ends up being, another one of these great landing spots. Even if people can't see the forest through the trees right away, I mean, especially in Dynasty, which we're talking about, I think it ends up being an awesome spot here for him.
Absolutely. And again, even this year, those guys are probably going to miss some time. Ibuka is going to be usable this year, kind of like how Roma Dunze was last year.
Yep. So
love his outlook long term.
Right. And that's you got to play the game when it comes to Dynasty, play the long game here. So my next pick for one of these great landing spots here is Tet McMillan for Carolina. The thing about this pick for Tet McMillan here is not only is he a productive X receiver and he fits the Carolina Panthers really well, the thing about him, he kind of resets the entire offense for Carolina. It kind of puts Xavier Legette back in a natural position where he's not playing X receiver anymore. Last year, towards the end of the year, when they had so many injuries and stuff, the X role, he got slotted in there. The second half of the year was not as good as the first half. You obviously saw that production wise. It seemed like it kind of messed with him mentally a little bit too. The big drop against the Eagles at the end of the year there. But it can kind of move him back to where they can use decided speed and space instead of using, put him back in the X role where he just ends up being a big body deep round or deep ball target. And then Jalen Coker, Adam Thielen, they brought in Hunter Renfro. We'll see what else he has as far as after the year off. It seemed like he had some illness and sickness there. And then the other thing about this for Bryce Young, I mean, it works well with what they did. I know a lot of people think Bryce Young is kind of a dink and dunk quarterback, but the second half of the year for him, his deep ball game was as good as any. It was top 10 in the league. They obviously use the run game a lot, do the play action. So a lot of Chuba Hubbard, a lot of Rico Dowdle, who ends up being an awesome pick later in drafts this year and probably a good dynasty pickup if you need some depth as well. But to do that and then have Tet McMillan, who had over 1,300 yards the last 2 years in Arizona, led Arizona in most yards in program history, along with some other stats. I think it sets up really nice here. So, with that being said, the last 9 games of the year for Carolina, Bryce Young had 18 touchdowns and only 4 turnovers compared to beginning of the year. Obviously, Andy Dalton gets hurt in the car wreck, and he kind of comes back in. His offensive line has gotten a lot better than what it was compared to Bryce Young's rookie year, where he was just getting obliterated every single second of every single day. And he just looked terrible. He looked like a bust. Everybody was ready to write him off. Obviously, that was not the case. I think they have a lot to build around. I think the defense is going to be a little better than it was last year, too. I think that Carolina will be much more competitive. And I think the last, second half of the season for Carolina was not a fluke like maybe some other people do. And I think that Bryce Young can build off that because when he's protected, I don't think his game at Alabama was accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. So I think it ends up really well. I think that Ted McMillan is an easy candidate as rookies go. 1,000 yards. 5+ touchdowns. I could lean closer to 10 if I want to be really aggressive with it. I think it really sets up well for what Carolina wants to do. And it just works out. It's a perfect fit. Not only Bryce Young and Ted McMillan, but the way that he fits in this Carolina offense, I think it really offsets a lot of the different stuff here. So next guy that I want to go to, Joe is on baby duty at the moment. He just ran off for a second. The next guy I want to talk about is RJ Harvey going to the Broncos. The Broncos desperately needed some juice in this backfield. Obviously, Javonte Williams goes to Dallas. Before the injury, I think a lot of people were obviously excited about Javonte Williams. He gets hurt. We kind of don't see what we would hope to have seen. He obviously moves on now, so now it's Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin as the competition here. RJ Harvey, outside of Ashton Genty, there was nobody that had more yards from 10 yards out or more runs at 10 plus yards than RJ Harvey. So as far as explosiveness, going to the Sean Payton offense, who has always used running backs and have done it to the best of his ability. Mark Ingram, all those guys back in the day, Pierre Thomas, all those guys. I think that hopefully RJ Harvey ends up being the running back that we have hoped for as far as this Broncos team. I feel like we've tried to throw some darts the last year or two in the Sean Payton offense because that's what we want. We want the running back that's equipped to Sean Payton that does all this stuff. So last year at UCF, almost 1,600 yards and 22 touchdowns. So, he's a dynamic playmaker, does a lot of stuff well, and I think he fits the Broncos, who kind of need another weapon. They have Cortland Sutton, but they have just like these hodgepodge of wide receivers. They have Mims, they have Vele. Just brought in Evan Ingram, play tight end this year. So I feel like this Broncos offense will be a lot better than it was last year. And then it'll be a lot more explosive. Obviously, bring in Evan Ingram, another target to stay away from Cortland Sutton. And then obviously with RJ Harvey in the backfield, and Bo Nix. Bo Nix ends up being a guy who, did a lot of stuff on the ground rushing and then kind of can add another element if they have another, running back here to do this stuff. So I'm just finishing up RJ Harvey talk.
Yeah, I was able to hear you throughout. Thanks for covering for a minute. This guy decided it was time to wake up from a nap 10 minutes after we start, of course.
That's how it goes.
But yeah, I had no other points on T-Mac. Like you said, I think he's great for the rest of the receivers in the room, knocking especially your guy Xavier Legette down to his natural spot. Harvey, what are your thoughts on the Harvey hype right now? I'm seeing him go as high as 6 overall in some rookie drafts, over some other, even over like Quinshon Judkins, near Travion Henderson, who, spoiler, is my next name.
I feel like a lot of people just get really overexcited on rookies to begin with. So it's just kind of hard. I see it. If you see the vision for RJ Harvey and you believe in him, the production was there at UCF, so it's not like a pretend thing where he's just explosive. He has the workhorse back material there. So I get the hype there. I feel like the last couple of years, a lot of people have been trying to chase the Broncos running back stuff here.
Same. I don't think he's going to be the bell cow fully. I think he'll be the lead back, I think, for sure. But Sean Payton's never had just one guy. Heck, even Alvin Kamara's never had 1,000 rushing yards, which I'm not going to say RJ Harvey's close to that level of a runner, and he's definitely not that level of receiver.
Right.
So I think some of the hype right now is going a little crazy. I loved Harvey coming out, but that's kind of when he was viewed as a 4th rounder. Fantasy value absolutely skyrockets, of course, but I think there's some people I've seen top 10 running back in some dynasty rankings. I think that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. Would you agree?
Yeah, but that's the name of the game. Everybody gets very excited. You give it a year, wears off a little bit. Wait until season starts. It just kind of wears off a little bit. But that's how it goes. I will be open about Ashton Genty getting that high, and then the rest of these running backs, even if they've got some nice spots, I just can't do it. But I'm a little more calm than some of these other people who get really excited about the rookies and slap the to the moon on them and go from there.
I feel like the hope with Harvey, and we can transition over to Henderson as well. Even Omari and Hampton, those guys who have another vet in the room who aren't going to have like a 1,500 scrimmage yard year as a rookie, but then their sophomore year, just buy them up because people think they're a disappointment.
Right.
So I feel like we see all the time. See with Marvin Harrison right now.
Yeah, that's how it always goes, which that's a name we'll get to later this summer. So
yeah.
But Henderson is very interesting. And I just think they came out and said Ramondre Stevenson's going to have a little bit of work. It seems like he's going to. They say that until he has a fumble and then things go awry. But Travion Henderson at Ohio State was awesome. He obviously had another running mate too that did a lot of good stuff there as well in Judkins. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people are starting to get excited about this Patriots offense. I think that Travion Henderson can benefit. We'll talk about another guy here in a minute who also can benefit as a rookie wide receiver that will benefit from Drake May. So get Josh McDaniels as OC again. People obviously don't like him. He's not that great as far as a person, it seems. But as far as an offensive coordinator, he's always done a lot of really good stuff. So ends up really nice for Henderson here.
Yeah, I'm really excited for his outlook. I think going somewhere with Ramondre Stevenson, who is a solid player and good enough to stay on the field, will be good for Henderson. Henderson was at his best at Ohio State with Quinshon Judkins, or I don't remember who the other back was his freshman year. Who would that have been? Anyway, but I think just have a more limited carry count, touch count, to be set up more for those explosive plays. He is a big game hunter more so. So I think having him there is really good.
Right.
Yeah, he's a great blocker. He's going to be there for those high leverage pass catching roles.
Yep. Sean knows what's up. Sean
does know what's up.
So
Jorge knows too.
There we go. Jorge's very understanding of the situation. So he's behaving so far. It's early.
Yes.
I've got I'll go next here, and I'm just going to talk about the other guy, Patriots wide receiver here, Kyle Williams, the new weapon in town for Drake May, who seems like they've been practicing a little bit. It seems like they're already kind of become a cohesive unit. He ends up being an awesome playmaker. The best thing about him is really good against man coverage because of his speed and just the way that he will fly past defenders. The game speed, you watch him on film, I mean, it really translates. It's not just the high 40 time. It ends up being, don't want to compare him to Percy Harvin, but if you remember back in the day when he would be on the field and every play with him, the ball in his hands just ends up being electric. He's got to play both in the slot and in on the perimeter. And he had a great showing at the Senior Bowl. That's a thing that I think, for me personally, when these rookies come out, if you go to the Senior Bowl, see how they do, and I think that it honestly translates well to the NFL because these guys are just trying to make a name for themselves. So playmaking wise, I think he's just kind of a playmaker that the Patriots have needed for a really long time. I mean, the last several years, going back to Mac Jones, and to Tom Brady, ended up being pretty well, but I mean, he carried the ship. But as far as playmakers go, there just wasn't anything there. You get Stephon Diggs, who's coming off injury, torn ACL. He's an older wide receiver who's kind of fell off. It gets a little moody too. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker are both guys that didn't really. I thought Jalen Polk. I thought he was going to be a lot better, but they just didn't.
Such a disappointing role.
And then you got Demario Douglas and Mac Hollins, who shows up with no shoes on. So I really do think that Kyle Williams ends up being a guy who can produce, and I think this is one of these late flyers. He's getting a little bit of buzz. I wish people would be a little more quiet for me personally, for my advantage. But I do think that people are missing Kyle Williams a little bit about what he can do and the landing spot as well. I mean, Henderson and Williams, I mean, this is great for the Patriots offense to get them going to the new century, play some actual offense instead of Drake May running around and having to scramble for touchdowns constantly because nobody would be open.
Have a receiver with some speed as opposed to just the shots at N'Keal Harry and such.
See, I wasn't even going to bring up N'Keal Harry because I just can't do it. I want to race all these Tyquan Thornton, all these guys. I want them all erased. I just want to start fresh. We can keep DeMario Douglas if we need to, and then we'll kind of go from there. But the rest of these guys are just, it's just.
Hey, JJ's in the chat. What's up, brother? Miss you too.
Howdy, partner.
You made another comment about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Not sure that came. Did you mention good old Bill Belichick?
Well, I don't know. Bill Belichick's going through more stuff than it seemed like Tom Brady was at his heyday with his woman. I mean, so I think all we could do is just pray for him and kind of move on there. But Brady, I don't know. The offense, it just seemed like rinse and repeat, just kind of.
Oh, Josh McDaniels. Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, I'd argue Drake May is not a Tom Brady level talent, of course, but someone who's higher on him than anyone.
Right.
Goodness. Yes. Thank you. Got there. Thank you, JJ. Oh gosh, we have a Keyshawn Booty reference in here. Hey, Sean,
we got to move
Kyle
on.
Williams, 214. Yes, we do have one question here to answer from Keegan. Thanks for dropping the question. 12 teams, Superflex, PPR. Amon-Ra and Jacobs are 102, 206, and Rice. I'm assuming this is not IDP.
No. Damn.
I feel like I don't love Amon-Ra, but I feel like I'm smashing that side, honestly.
Well, this is not good because I think I'd lean the different one.
Really?
I think because I'm high on Rashee Rice, so I'm not going to compare him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I mean, just like a grade below, I think Rashee Rice is going to be good, just like he was the first 4 games before he got hurt. And then you get 102.
I really struggle with valuing him.
You get 102, so I'm going to compare. You get the 102 and Rice, and then 206 will be the extra, but 102 ends up being Travis Hunter. It could be Ted McMillan. It could be Amari and Hampton.
Ward.
Which will kind of replace Josh Jacobs, who ends up. I keep thinking he's old. He's like a 10-year vet who's 26 years old. I mean, he's been in the league since like Carson Palmer. It seems like that's the era that I feel like he goes back to. And then just you look it up, and no, he's only like 26. I think he's still got miles, but I think I would lean.
He's a year and a half younger than me.
Yeah, so I think I would lean the 102 and Rice just from the context that 102 and Rice might be a little bit of a downgrade from Amon-Ra and Jacobs, but you're 206. I think you can make something, and you get a little younger too. So I think it works out that way. That's how I'm going to go about it. And then Superflex here. Superflex don't really matter too much unless you get one of these quarterbacks who end up in the late round here at the 206, which maybe Milrow if you're lucky, but as far as Superflex goes, I don't think anything crazy goes on there because you're not going to get, unless you're desperate for quarterback, Cam Ward at 102. I think you'd rather take a playmaker over Cam Ward. And then, like I said, the rest of it just kind of, maybe you can get Tyler Shuck at 206. Maybe nobody will want to sneeze at that and go from there. So
Tyler Shuck has been going in such weird places, I feel like.
As a guy that I cannot gauge.
I know. All right, I will go to my next guy. Going a little out of order here. Gonna make JJ happy with this one. The Jets' second-round pick, Mr. Mason Taylor. Not sure where he's going to end up for fantasy. Going to start there. But I think this is a great move for Garrett Wilson. makes sense for Justin Fields and whoever the future quarterback is. They finally have someone else who actually is competent as a receiver. Love Jeremy Ruckert coming out, but they seem to have ruined him. Can't even block anymore. But Taylor, the Bloodlines, just overall really good player, great athlete. I think he's going to open up, or he's going to draw attention to the middle of the field, leaving Garrett Wilson some more space to move. Again, second round, great value for him. Right before the other set of tight ends. And the gap between him and Tyler Warren, I didn't think was that vast. So getting him here, which we talked about that, but
yes,
even still, almost 30 pick difference is a big range. So I think he had some first round hype. Getting him here, he's a real secondary threat for a team. And honestly, the Jets, I feel like, crushed the draft again, which is weird to say. So congrats, JJ.
Still suck, respectfully, but they still crushed it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get JJ too hyped up here, but I do think he ends up, especially for his draft capital here, and then it's like Garrett Wilson and friends. We'll see how the Justin Fields experiment goes, just because I feel like some of it is on him. He's obviously not an accurate passer. He never has been, really.
No.
But his environment, with Chicago, thought he did the best he could and kind of got left out to dry with some of the stuff. And Chicago Bears have never been known for offense. So we'll just kind of put that lightly. And then, as far as the Jets outlook, say if Justin Fields isn't past this year, they end up getting a quarterback in the draft, and Mason Taylor, kind of rises because he gets, a better quarterback upgrade. And then, Garrett Wilson taking a lot of the attention. We'll see. I think it's a very interesting pick. I think a lot of people are obviously going to go to the Rams tight end, the rookie, Ferguson.
Yeah.
I think
he's
a lot
still
of people
been falling in a lot of my leagues too. This tight end class has been really weird where they've been drafted.
But I
had Taylor compared to Goddard, and I feel like that's a totally reasonable outlook. Again, maybe this year with a lot of these rookies isn't great. Tight ends take some time typically, but I think if you can get a tight end 8 every year here, I'll
take it.
Great stuff. Absolutely.
Tight ends don't grow on trees. I know they've had a couple branches the last 2 years, but I mean the rest of the time. And they, like you said, they always take time. Not everybody comes out and looks like Sam Laporta year one because, they got to learn, obviously, the passing portion of the program. They have to do the blocking if they're going to stay on the field full time. And it just ends up being a lot of adjustment. They have to do a lot of the alignment, formations, and all that stuff. So they do run game, pass game, blocking, and then go out there and go run routes too. So really interesting.
Taylor's super refined, way more than a lot of these guys. The Christian or Elijah Arroyos, Terrence Ferguson are great athletes and good, but not a lot of refinement to those games. Taylor has that.
Yep, Harold Fannin
makes me feel better.
Guy that ends up kind of being I don't want to say one-way player, but a lot of these guys are tight ends who catch the ball and don't do a whole lot of blocking, limits them going on the field. I think Mason Taylor does a little bit of everything really well. So
he does. Again, like Goddard, and if he can be like Goddard was a average blocker at best coming out, probably a little worse, and with the frame, similar frames, Taylor's 6'5", 260. He can, with an NFL weight room for a couple years, can definitely get some more refinement there and be a plus blocker, stay on the field for 90% of snaps.
No, I definitely agree there. So my last guy, as far as the good landing spots here, I'm going to go with Cam Scatterbo. Scatterbo. Looking at him, and you look at the metrics, he's not fast. He's not like this is not a sexy pick, but the production is very hard to ignore. I would compare him to a bowling ball that has a rocket strapped to it because he doesn't necessarily have breakaway speed where he's going to take one to the house, but he rips off 20 or 30-yard gains and then carries all the defenders on his back with it. His competition, Tyrone Tracy, had some moments, but a lot of his metrics last year, as far as yards per carry, missed tackles were below league average. And I know the offense environment was not very good. I think Tyrone Tracy is fine, but I do think that Scatterbo, if you ignore, the 40 time and just all that stuff and just look at what he can do as far as production, what he did at Arizona State, all he did was put up stats. I think he can walk into the Giants, backfield end up being the RB1 and getting a lot of production. He catches balls out of the backfield. He does everything. And it's not the sexy click that I think a lot of people want with these. He's not RJ Harvey. He's not Bashawn Tutin. These guys who a lot of people get really excited about because they're fast and do all this stuff. I mean, the production is there for Cam, and I think that he ends up in a really nice spot where he doesn't have any competition outside of Eric Gray, if he's still on the team, and then I believe Devin Singletary. So it just seems like the same crop of guys every year, and I just think he can end up doing a lot of stuff for the Giants if they end up being decent this year. We'll see. We will see. But
so Scatabo, I had comp to Ramondre Stevenson, and I think we could see a very similar backfield to what the Patriots are going to do this year. I don't think Scatabo, he could be Ramondre Stevenson, also big, bulky 4th-round pick. I think that's where Ramondre went, right? Something like that. But he fits that role pretty well. Tyrone Tracy, as much as I love him, he's not Travion Henderson, does not have that level of explosiveness. No. But similar, a lot of those metrics got bad because he wore down a lot towards the end of the year and was clearly not able to take a full-time role. So I think it's going to be good for both of them. Scatabo obviously almost died at the end of the year against Texas. Yep. So having a little bit of spelling for both of them. I think both can be relevant. Maybe not. Maybe neither of them are a running back 2 even, but if they end as running back 28 and running back 34, I think it's totally reasonable. And for
I can see that too.
Roast team, sure.
I think Giants have the hardest schedule in the NFL, which is what happens when you suck so bad. You get it even worse. We'll see about the quarterbacks. We're going to talk about one of them here in a little bit and kind of go over that situation.
Do we have to?
But I don't have to, but it was required. We're going to do the best. We also got to do the worst. So we'll get to Jackson Dart here in a little bit. But it just and even long-term dynasty. Let's say Dayball's gone. They get a high draft pick, get a new regime, get a new quarterback. I know, tank for Arch. I'm hearing some rumblings. There, a lot of teams are going to try to do that. Quarterback
2027, not 26.
Yeah, quarterback class will be a lot better this upcoming year than what it just was this past year. Drew Aller, possibly from Penn State. A couple more of these prospects, but I think Scatabo is kind of like a volume back where. And this is one of these profiles that I fall for that I shouldn't. It's not sexy, but they get the touches, and then you can sometimes get like an RB2 week out of them if they fall in the end zone, instead of a guy that you are shooting for upside like I don't even know, like an Alexander Madison, just hoping to get some points.
It's not a terrible comp.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not fun. It's not fun for the whole family enjoyment, but I do think that Scatabo, as far as the landing spot, can get some real production here in New York, and then ends up. I don't think the competition's that bad either to beat out.
Do you know who Alexander Madison's on? What team he's on right now?
Oh God, I have no idea.
Miami.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I have the Raiders. And me getting burned thinking that once Dalvin Cook was gone years ago and I thought Madison was going to be the guy. I heard from multiple people.
They thought so too.
Kevin Tompkins telling me that he was not the guy. I did not listen to Kevin Tompkins. I got burned. I should have listened to him. So, Kevin, if you're out there, howdy partner, I should have listened to you.
That's right. Sean Teague's Dolphins.
Yeah. God bless you, pal.
Have fun with that, buddy.
Yeah. Terrible. So, but that's
last name that we have for the pot. Oh, sorry to cut you off there.
No, I was going to say that was my last good landing spot, and I was going to get you to yours, and then we'll move on to the worst portion of the program.
Sounds good. So my last pick, going a little deeper with Torrey Horton for the Seahawks. And want to preface this, I'm a Wyoming alum. So for me to pick a CSU Ram, which sucks to be a Ram, but anyway, for me to pick a Ram means that I really like the player. I had a top 100 grade on him. I think I had him in the 70s. Maybe 80s. Either way,
I think we call that spicy.
I was high on him. It was a little spicy, but his profile, he was hurt towards the end of last year, but 2023, 2022, he looked spectacular on film, and this year as well before he got hurt. I just lost my data I have on him, but the concern is that he was a one-sided field receiver, but overall, don't super care. He showed a lot of great work at the catch point with the ball in his hands. Not a Jalen Royals level with the ball in his hands, but I think they were similar prospects. And Seattle needs an outside receiver. Love Jackson Smith and Jigba for what he can do, but he is more of that slot flanker type. Elijah Arroyo, tight end. Cooper Kupp is a corpse, maybe?
I'm not excited about him. And then obviously one of the greatest wide receivers to ever grace this great sport, MVS, is also a Seattle Seahawk.
Yeah, he is.
So can't forget him as far as the competition there for Torrey Horton. But I think Torrey Horton, especially these middle rounds of these drafts, is a good flyer to pick.
He is. He had over 160 catches in 22 and 23 combined, 16 touchdowns. Even though he was mostly a one side of the field player, still had some snap work some slot work, some outside work. I think he is probably going to be their X receiver once they decide MVS is just a pretty name. If that. Yep.
And I do think, I mean, interrupt, and I'm not trying to predict injury. Cooper Kupp the last couple of years has not been very dependable. If he gets injured, they kind of have to move JSN. JSN moves from one spot to the other, and then Horton ends up on the field full time. So I do think there's a possibility that kind of walk into that there, because I just don't think MVS is gonna. We've done this pony show a lot, and nothing changes.
Unfortunately, we have. Yeah, and Horton, he just gets open, which I mean his separation scores through PFF were 87th percentile, including time injured this season. Just dude was always open. Maybe not the greatest vertical receiver, or was going to stop, but with those breaking routes, but secure hands, can get to all levels of the field, especially that intermediate route area where the Kubiaks want to hit the field.
Yep.
He's not Brandon Ayuk, but can play a similar style of role potentially. So in the fifth round, he's getting slept on so much.
And I will say this. I feel like Seattle's offense, I feel like some people are going kind of boomer ball on them, kind of underrated. And if the offensive line sucks, then Sam Darnold's toast. I mean, I'll admit that right there. But I mean, Sam Darnold did do some good stuff. You get Kubiak in there. It just, I think it's interesting. I think it's more interesting. I mean, I'm not necessarily excited about Cooper Kupp, but I mean, JSN was awesome last year, especially down the, when he kind of DK Metcalf's gone. I think JSN kind of becomes the alpha in the room. Kenneth Walker, we'll get to him later in the offseason, but I mean, he's an awesome candidate here. And then, Zach Charbonnet, too, is another guy that when Kenneth Walker was out, he ended up having some massive games. So, I mean, I think it's in this Seahawks offense to happen. Torrey Horton's going to be a part of it and be on the field full time for it. I do think that there's obviously a lot of opportunity there.
So I just found him in my rankings. I actually had him at 68th overall.
Yeah, that's scorching hot.
Right between Kyle Williams and his teammate Elijah Arroyo.
There you go.
And I comped him to Jacoby Myers, which feels like a natural and good fit for this Kubiak offense. So,
right,
dig routes for days.
There you go. So we've done the best. I guess now is the portion of the program where we dabble in
Sean
the worst. Oh man, Sean. We'll have you on.
I'm not gonna lie. That one, I'm impressed. That's a deep cut. I like it.
We'll have you on soon. We'll discuss that. How's that sound?
I'm gonna change the name in a fantasy league or two here, I think.
There you go. That's very clever, Sean. Very deep. I'll just leave it at that. So, but we talked about the best landing spots, and then of course can't do the best without the worst. So we'll just share the Green Bay Packers wide receiver together in unison.
Yeah, let's hit them together. And to clarify, that is Matthew Golden, their first round pick, who Jameson added. Then I also added Savion Williams. Sorry, Joel, their third round pick. Do you want to take point on Golden here?
Yeah, it just it seems like a lot of it was due to speed for Green Bay. Green Bay has not necessarily been pushing out wide receivers with production. I know Jaden Reed had a really fun beginning of the month last year in the NFL season. Jordan Love has been really hit and miss. I know Josh Jacobs has been really good, but I just don't think they've really been able to capitalize on that play action pass. You just see, I know Jordan Love was hurt last year, but he ends up, having that throw off the back foot that everybody can kind of see in the back of their mind. It just, I know Christian Watson's out. Dontavian Wicks has had a lot of drops and just doesn't seem to be cutting it. You get Romeo Dobbs, who's been fine, has some concussion stuff, and then Jaden Reed, who maybe would be better if he was on the field more. It seems like they take one of their best playmakers off the field a decent amount for a team that needs wide receivers. And I feel like it's just going to be really hit and miss with Matthew Golden. I thought the production in college wasn't necessarily the best, and then he was really fast. Green Bay needs a wide receiver once Christian Watson's out, so it just ends up being picking Matthew Golden here. And I just, I don't know. I don't love it. I think Jordan Love had a lot of hits and misses last year as well, so I just don't think the reliability is there. Didn't really necessarily like the profile. I don't know if he's a great fit for Green Bay because I don't even know what they're trying to do on offense besides give the ball to Josh Jacobs. That's all they end up doing.
Yeah, I can see the fit. Jaden Reed's their slot guy. Wicks, Dubs, who they might trade Dubs since he's a contract year. Them playing that sacrificial X role. Then Golden is a flanker, running some deep, just stretching the field, crossing routes. Like, I can see it, but I don't know. I didn't love it. I didn't love the player. And a lot of it, if he went in the second round, like where they took Belton, I could totally get behind it. But 23rd overall, I struggle with that. I would have way rather Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden. I wasn't a big Trey Harris guy, but I think he fits better for them. Kyle Williams.
I feel like they need a guy who can actually take over a game and not just another Matthew Golden is a speed guy.
Yeah.
That's
without the 4.29 speed.
Right. So, I don't know. And then Xavion Williams just ends up, I know that some people like him, but it just ends up being there's so many wide receivers.
Yeah.
You can't even depend on them week to week because half of them drop the football. So it just ends up being really tough here.
Yeah. Golden, again, I can see it. I do think a lot of the issues are being baked into drafts. I got him as outside of the top 15 in rookie drafts in a couple of leagues. So I think at that point, it's okay, stop the bleeding. But
right.
Then Xavion, I just don't think he's good. He was not in my top 200 players. I don't see it at all.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Laviska Shenault again.
I don't know. I'd rather take a late round flyer on Williams instead of paying up for Matthew Golden, which Matthew Golden in Dynasty rookie drafts been seems like he's been a faller, but I don't know, man. I can't do it. I would rather take a shot at a running back at that point in time. I know he's got first round capital, but it just ends up being a little goofy.
Yeah, I agree. And again, with Xavion, it's third round for a gadget guy when you already have a bunch of weird receivers. I hated it.
Right. So I'll get my last worst pick here. We talked about earlier is Jackson Dart. And I just think it's really just the situation here for him. I think that for Jackson Dart, he's going up against Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as far as competition. He's got a head coach in Brian Daboll who could totally get fired. The GM could also get canned this year. So going up against the competition of both these guys, as far as quarterbacks go, team, they have Malik Neighbors. Offensive line is kind of goofy. It's not great. And then, if they end up where the team sucks, they play the hardest schedule in the league so far. If they all suck and then they all get fired, what happens is they probably have a high draft pick, better quarterbacks. He was the guy that his draft profile got pushed up because of the lack of quarterbacks in this class. And then he ends up, kind of a lame duck where they can end up getting canned and a new regime ends up coming up and finding a new quarterback.
Yep, totally agree there. I was super low on Dart coming into this. I think I had quarterback 7. I really don't see it, man. Don't want to hate the kid, especially as a fellow Star Wars fan, but I just apparently the weird eye black thing he does is a Anakin Skywalker tribute, but
I know you can get on that, but does that translate to fantasy points? With all due respect to Star Wars?
No, not even a little bit. But yeah, I don't see it with him. I think the tools that he has are super overhyped. I mean, not to helmet scout, but we've never seen a quarterback from this sort of system even be a decent backup. There's just no one. He has done some more reads, full field reads than a lot of these quarterbacks have done, but still, Kiffin's great at what he does. That's, I think, the thing you take away most from watching that film is Kiffin is so good. But
did you see the John Gruden video with QB camp, and he had Jackson Dart and asked what his snap count was, and his snap count is, and that was it. Just one clap, and then they have a dummy clap, and that's it. And I mean, Gruden looked at him like he had turds coming out of his mouth. It's just it's a different offense there as far as Ole Miss goes. And I hate, like, he had a lot of production. The game against Florida where he kind of fell apart is something that people are going to pick at. But as far as, like, these offenses and everybody just, like, you know, kind of poo-poos all over them. I mean, a lot of these college offenses have nothing compared to regular NFL professional offenses. So if you're going to sit there and nitpick that, I mean, show me which college offense translates to the NFL as far as quarterback factories go, because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of it too is that, yeah, he's young, but he had so much, 3.5 years of starting experience. And I just don't think he got better at all. Like the same issues he was showing at USC with getting Drake London killed. He was still showing this year, trying to get Trey Harris killed, but it's a concerning thing when you have that many snaps and you're just not showing much. That's why Anthony Richardson went fourth. Is that, yeah, there are flaws, but he didn't have a chance for constant improvement.
No, so people love upside. That's all they want to talk about. Upside. Never production, never anything. It's just upside. What's the upside? Can he be a solid starter? No. He's got to be the greatest of all time, which sometimes I get, but sometimes you got to take what you can get too. So we'll see about Jackson Dart. I don't want to necessarily. I just think situation stinks, and I just think there's a lot of outs.
Yeah.
He might not even see the field this year, and then if the Giants suck and everybody gets fired, like new regime comes in, like, we don't want Dart. We got a better draft pick, or we don't have to pick him 25th overall. We can get top 5 and end up doing something like that. So just don't love Jackson Dart as far as landing spot here.
No, we do have another comment in here with both of our favorite honorable mentions, and Pat Bryant.
Yep, we're gonna keep that between us, Jerry. But I do think that Pat Bryant, kind of out of left field as far as his draft pick goes, but they got Cortland Sutton and friends. I mean, Vele, Mims, who had a couple big games, but these guys are seems like rotational pieces that just end up kind of mixing and matching. And Pat Bryant, especially his draft capital, he had a lot of good production. I think he can end up being a guy who, I mean, Cortland Sutton needs another wide receiver next to him full time. So that's a guy who obviously both of us really like and are going after in rookie drafts as well. He is a guy that's actually flying under the radar. I will say that. Him,
absolutely,
kind of in the same range of Isaac Tesla, wide receiver for Detroit, where the pick kind of came out of left field, but when you kind of put it together, it kind of makes sense. But both of us really do like Pat Bryant. Just keep it between us. Don't go telling the world, Jerry. I beg.
Yeah.
Keep
so
it
another
between us,
quick question for you here.
Yep.
Browns rookie quarterbacks. Who do you prefer here?
Gabriel. Easily.
Really?
Yep.
Because of draft capital, or?
Yeah. I don't know why people are more excited about the 5th round than the 3rd rounder. Gabriel, he's short, but he did a lot of fun stuff at Oregon. If he can get over that, Sanders is whatever. He's fine, I guess. I don't know, but both these guys are in a situation where the Browns franchise just been doom and gloom, so it's really hard to be excited. But I would rather go Gabriel with the draft capital. I think he could do probably a little bit more flashier stuff than Sanders. I think Sanders could probably run Stefanski's offense just fine, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, Gabriel will do some stuff with his legs, but I don't know. I can see Gabriel and I'd say Pickett going at it for first round. This Joe Flacco talk. Obviously didn't watch Joe Flacco last year.
No. Even with the Browns, he had some heater games like Jameis did, but he was basically just an older Jameis.
Yeah. So, just same old stuff. But we think that about wraps up here for best and worst landing spots here. There we go. There you go,
Yes.
Sean. Why don't you get in
Yeah.
there, Sean? You can hand the ball off well.
Yeah, sure.
Can't be
Sean,
that
I
bad.
nominate you. But to wrap up there, I think I'd prefer Sanders still. I don't think Gabriel's an NFL talent at all. Sanders, I thought might be, but I don't want either of them, to be fully clear. Just if I had to pick, I'll take the more talented player.
Right.
But,
So I just not either guy I'm totally thrilled with, but I'd go Gabriel
No.
here, but that's just personal
Yeah.
opinion. But we'll get out of here before the kiddo runs off your shoulder and does a front flip, does swanton
Yeah.
bomb off your shoulders.
Oh, he's trying his best, but that's all right. So, do you have any last things, any tags before we want to head out?
I'm over on the Twitter machine as always at Jameson Rules. If you want to talk football, wrestling, Halsey. If anybody's into music, I went and saw her last night in concert. She was wonderful. I want to tell the world all about it. But got any questions, comments, concerns? Always available if you want to talk about anything. If you need an ear, you want to talk football, mediocre at trade and all that stuff. But I'll do my best for you. Over on Twitter machine, Fantasy and Frames Discord. Shout out to Fantasy and Frames, Jorge and the gang. Make sure you check out everything here at Fantasy and Frames, fantasyandframes.com. Fast Draft, promo code Frames, get $50 deposit back on your first deposit there. So I want to make sure I shout all those out before we leave. And for you,
Absolutely.
your tag,
Yes.
you and the kid
Yeah.
will kick us out of here.
Yes, we'll wrap up before we hand over to Stacy and the Draft Show, who have a very special guest. So stick around and they'll kick off in 8.5 minutes or so. But you can find me on the Blue Sky and the Twitter machine, as you so eloquently say, at Jolo63. You can find me being heartbroken about my I'll refrain from expletives, but terrible Baltimore Orioles right now. You
Red
can
Sox
also find
no better.
record-wise,
leave
they're a
it at
little
that.
better.
No, this
You can find both of us just being in pain about our terrible AL East teams. But I have an article. The second part of our wide receiver rookie breakdowns will be hitting the second rounders. I believe that'll drop tomorrow morning. And yeah, that's about all I got going on. Just want to say congratulations to JJ and his entire growing family. Thank you for everyone who joined us tonight, except for you, Sean. Just kidding. You're beautiful. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Sean with a final Star Wars comment. But thank you, Jameson. Thank you again to everyone on the stream. Thanks to Jorge and everyone else behind the scenes. Join us next week at 8 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. And you can also catch JJ on the Diehards podcast every Wednesday with Doug. I remembered the name, JJ, even if he didn't last week. So in the words of JJ, from all of us to all of you, be safe, be well, and as always, boat drinks.